Hello, good morning. Welcome along to a brand new week here on Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1.
It is Monday the 15th of April and thank you so much for turning us on this morning. Pleasure to have you here.
Yes, now this weekend saw further protests take place because of overcrowding in University Hospital Limerick. So at 7:15 we're going to speak to two people who have first-hand experience of the situation in the Midwest. Of course, we would love to hear from you if you have had experience there, even if you're there at the weekend. 0896 111 111. Send us a message.
Yeah. Also, last night, the UN Security Council met to discuss the potential fallout from Iran's attack on Israel over the weekend. There's been strong words from Israel. We're going to have the latest on that at 7:35.
And on a brighter note, for golf fans, sports fans, Scotty Scheffler won in Augusta and walks away the champion of the 2024 Masters. Stayed up way too late watching that. Of course, in the Premier League, Liverpool and Arsenal have slipped up, gifting potentially Man City the Premier League. We're going to discuss that and all the sport at 7:45.
It's like no one wanted it this weekend. We're just going to give it away. We're going to give away the Premier League. What's going on, Liverpool? Alan, what's going on with Liverpool?
Were they playing?
They were.
I was waiting for your insight there, babe.
Not quite sure about that now. Not quite sure.
Alan's more about
But you're going to enjoy this because later on we're going to be chatting to a loud man who claims he has the ability to communicate with leprechauns. Yes, I did say that. And how he secured EU protection for the mythical creatures. Yes, Ireland's last leprechaun whisperer is going to be here at 8:45. But look who's here now. Gina Daly's in the kitchen. Good morning, Gina. How are you?
I'm good,
So you're
thanks.
now up bright and early this morning to cook. What are you cooking for us?
So we're doing a shredded beef with sweet, sticky sauce. So we're doing them in tacos, or you can have them as burritos, whatever you fancy. So it's a real treat today.
Oh, looking forward to that. That's coming up a little later on. And Deric, welcome back, Deric. I believe you're going to be treading the boards this morning. Where are you?
Absolutely, we're giving it socks nice and early. We're down here in South County Dublin this morning. We brought a little bit of sunshine back from Vancouver, West Canada. Dry and settle one out there this morning. Then that mixture of showers later on today with some hail and thunderstorm. We're picking up later on tonight into tomorrow. So an improving start as we edge our way right across the week. Now, Dundrum, South County Dublin is where we're at this morning. The Mill Theatre up and running. 90 years this year, would you believe? So we're going to be spending a morning with them, threading the boards, as you mentioned. So that's all to come live a little bit later on. And guys, I actually met that leprechaun whisperer about 3 years ago, I think. He's got a cave under the ground as well. So be sure to ask him about that.
He does.
It's a fun one.
How's your cave?
He's such a legend. I know. I can't wait to be talking to him later on, Derek. But talk to us about the holidays. You got the hair done as well, I see.
I did. I've got a little bit blonde, so I'm channeling Wern this morning. And we had a beautiful week in Vancouver, West Canada. It was gorgeous. First time there, so really loved it.
Oh, I'm dead jealous.
Fabulous.
It looked amazing. Thanks very much, Derek. That's what the sun does, of course.
That's it. It was natural.
Putting lemon and lemon juice in his
Sun
hair
in
the whole time.
back in the day.
Derek, we'll catch up with you later on. Thanks very much.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline: Biden leads condemnation of Iran's missile strikes on Israel. The United States president had led the unequivocal condemnation of Iran's air missile attack on Israel as Western leaders vowed to work to avoid further destabilisation in the Middle East. Israel has pledged to exact a price for the Iranian attack at a time that suits.
It's time the world faces evil empire of Tehran is similarly the top story in the Daily Mail. Tel Aviv was reportedly pulled back from the brink of immediate retaliation by the US President Joe Biden after Saturday night's airstrike.
The Mirror says step back from brink. Iran was last night warned by G7 leaders its Israel attack has put the region on the brink of war. Experts warn strikes between the two countries may spark further bloodshed in a region already devastated by the carnage in Gaza.
The Examiner leads with families of victims want parole reform. Simon Harris has been urged to rush through legislation that would stop families of the victims of some of the country's worst criminals from being put through traumatic parole hearings for at least 20 years.
The Sun leads with sick prison boasts of Aisling killer. Aisling Murphy's evil killer has been proclaiming his innocent behind bars. Joseph Pushka told inmates, "I didn't do it. They got the wrong man." Pushka is convinced he'll win an appeal later this year.
The Herald goes with pensioner in carjack horror ordeal. Armed Gardaí have arrested a serial criminal after a carjacking involving a female pensioner in Dublin. The suspect is well known for involvement in burglaries and robberies.
The Star leads with "We will bring Kinahans to justice." Taoiseach Simon Harris has vowed to bring down the Kinahan cartel, saying, "I fully support the Gardaí's work to bring these criminals to justice." The DEA in America expects to move against the cartel soon.
And finally, €1,200 tax back for average worker in giveaway budget. That's the front of the Irish Independent. A personal tax package worth around €1,200 per person is now expected to be included in the next budget. Child benefit will go up by €10 a month, and the pension will increase by at least €12 a month. There you have it. We're going to be discussing that a little bit later on, but after the break.
I know, exactly. It's like, hold on, lads.
Simon Harris is a busy man, according to all these papers. Now, coming up after the break, we're going to be discussing the ongoing issues of overcrowding in University Hospital Limerick.
See you back here shortly. Welcome back. Now, a convoy of protesters from Limerick, Tipperary and Clare gathered outside HSE offices in Limerick yesterday to highlight ongoing overcrowding at University Hospital Limerick.
Yes, joining us now is one of the demonstration's organisers, Hilary Tonge from the Midwest Hospital Campaign Group, and Limerick councillor Conor Sheehan, who this year had a personal experience within the hospital. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Hilary, let's start off with yourself. You were one of the people who put this protest together at the weekend. We hear an awful lot about the situation in Limerick Hospital.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How bad has it got?
It's got very bad, Tommy. I mean, we've all been here before. We know the statistics of it all. But, I mean, the latest was 150 people on trolleys in one
When
ED.
was that?
That was a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And if it's lower than that, it's usually because surgeries are cancelled or things have been cancelled in UHL to make room for beds, etc. But we can't keep going like this. The people of Clare in particular need an ED, and the people of Nina need an ED. We've got 450,000 people going in.
An emergency department.
An emergency department,
and
yes.
that Limerick Hospital isn't fit for purpose. Is that what you're saying?
It's servicing 450,000 people. It can't cope.
Okay.
And everyone knows that. It cannot cope with that number of people.
So what's happened, particularly in the last couple of years, that you're having to put together demonstrations? That, like, why has there been a massive rise, or has it been steadily building? Steady
building, but I mean, particularly this protest that we had on Saturday was because it's 15 years since they closed the three EDs. That's St John's, Nina and Ennis. Mm-hmm. So now we've nothing except Limerick.
And obviously with UHL, listen, we've heard about it for years. It is the centre where everyone has to go to, but the population has increased and there doesn't seem to be the staffing numbers there. We've got the latest trolley numbers. This is the 14th of April. They'll be published at 8 a.m. again this morning. In emergency departments in Limerick, 195, in wards 84. The total was 279. So that was just yesterday morning. Conor, you're a Labour councillor, but you've got personal experience of this, and this was your granddad. He went into Limerick and was left on a trolley for how long?
Yes, my 87-year-old granddad in January of this year basically spent nearly 100 hours on a trolley in the emergency department at UHL, and that happened because he has a recurring problem with an ulcer on his leg. My father, he is my mother's father, so my only surviving grandparent. My mum is an only child. She was actually undergoing cancer treatment at the time, so she couldn't care for my grandfather. My father was away for work, so it fell to me. So I took him to the GP on a Thursday. The GP tried to get an appointment for him in what's known as the surgical assessment unit for his leg. She couldn't get an appointment, so she told me, you have two options. You can either bring him home and we will try tomorrow again for the surgical assessment unit, or you can go straight to ED. Now, I basically took a decision. I said, look, I turned to my granddad, I said, we'll go to the emergency department and we'll tough it out. We'll probably be there until tomorrow. Lo and behold, he was the entire weekend on a trolley. It was the Monday evening before he was sent to Croom, which is a step-down hospital, which is a model. It's normally an orthopaedic hospital, hips and knees. So he was sent to Croom on the Monday evening, but all throughout that weekend, my granddad, because he had an infection, delirium can set in when an elderly person gets an infection. So he got quite confused, quite agitated. He started ripping the IV, which is the the line that they put into your arm for the antibiotic,
Yeah.
kept ripping it out of his arm to the point where they couldn't even give him an IV anymore. They had to actually give him the antibiotic orally. And the most upsetting thing for us as a family was the fact that, and the thing that made me angriest was the fact that he was not even supposed to go through the A&E. He was supposed to go directly to another unit, which was known as the Surgical Assessment Unit, but our GP could not get him an
Because
appointment.
it's a recurring problem with your granddad. So they know what needs to happen and what needs to be done, but we can't. But you just had to go through the A&E.
Yeah.
100 hours.
Yeah, 100
But it
hours.
just didn't. It didn't need to be that way.
No, it did not need to be that way.
So that was a Thursday at 3 o'clock. He didn't get moved until Monday afternoon, Monday evening.
It was about.
What was he on a bed? Was he in a room? Like, what was the situation? And can you describe even what it was like for other patients? Because I'm sure you saw firsthand.
Like, basically, when he went in initially, he was triaged and seen by a nurse. Then he was sent actually he was basically in 3 different units of the A&E for the entire weekend that he was there. Because it's divided into zones, he was in and out of a room at varying stages.
And just put on a bed and just told to wait until you're going to be seen.
And for a finish, he was on a corridor. So, like, to be honest, this is something that's been really difficult for us as a family, because we would normally be quite a private family, but I went back out there that Monday evening after work, and there he was on a corridor beside another elderly man. Both of them were really confused, and they were getting quite agitated at one another. Yeah. And because the place is so understaffed, like, when you're out in UHL emergency department, it's very hard, because the staff that are working there are working so hard and they are fantastic. It's very hard to get to talk to anybody to tell you anything.
Because they're running around the place.
They're constantly running around the place.
And I know that Limerick Hospital, they have issued an apology to your grandfather. Is he okay now? Is he all right?
My granddad is fine now. Like, obviously, he's of a certain age.
I know.
And his care needs are a lot more than they were when he was younger. But I mean, UHL apologised to us through the media via basically a press release. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, my granddad was there at 100.
They tweeted you as well, didn't
they? Tweeted me. They tweeted me, and I felt the tweet was a small bit glib and insulting, if I'm being perfectly honest.
You can get in contact with us, 0896 111 111, not just focusing on UHL, but if any experiences that you have around the hospitals, because we always say, and you said it yourself, we go into these hospitals and we see, Hilary, we see these people working so hard, from the porters right through to the doctors. It's unbelievable. But Stephen Donnelly was in UHL, and he has decided that there are going to be a range of things that are going to happen. They're going to have GP care there when you walk in the door, so that you can be assessed before you go to triage. Maybe people could leave earlier. They're planning on opening more and more wards. There's going to be a centre of excellence, 97 new beds. Do you think that what he's announced goes far enough to help the people of the Midwest region?
No, we call them sticking plasters. It's still not alleviating UHL, and we need an A&E in Ennis and Nina. We only have MAUs, and they're medical assessment units.
Yep.
They're only open 8 to 8. They don't take children, and they don't take any emergency care at all. So we've nowhere else to go.
So for Taoiseach, the new Taoiseach, Simon Harris, of course, who was a former Minister of Health, who's been very gung-ho and saying what he wants to try and fix at the moment.
Yeah. Well, he was there when they were closing all these emergency departments.
Exactly. Consecutive governments have been there, and on their watch, this has happened.
So why has it happened? Why are they doing this?
I don't understand the lack of political will to address this situation at all.
Every single time that I we talk about hospitals and overcrowding, UHL is always the worst of the list. It's been the worst of the list for a very long time.
Yeah.
And anecdotally, you will hear the things that anyone who lives in the Midwest region will not want to go to UHL. They'll try to go to Galway if they can.
There's a fear. There's an absolute fear in the elderly in Clare. And I know it because I work with women where they're saying they'll do anything but go to Limerick.
It's the same.
It's stay at home.
It's the same in Limerick. I mean, my elderly granddad is terrified of ending up back there again. I mean, reconfiguration, which was when the emergency departments were closed in 2009 by any objective measure has completely failed. We were promised a centre of excellence. We were sold a pup. And I mean, the fact of the matter is the Minister needs to set out exactly, and I mean the Taoiseach in particular, we have a new Taoiseach, he has an opportunity to set out how he will address that. I mean, we had a recruitment freeze at the start of this year, and you look at the amount of vacant nursing posts, for example, that are in UHL alone.
Yeah, but the thing is the spending is out of control, and we are always questioning where is the money going, because they are pumping money into the Limerick Hospital, and unfortunately it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Limerick Hospital have released a statement saying we'd like to reiterate our apology to Mr Mullins and his family for the long delay they experienced in accessing an inpatient bed at the time. This is not the kind of care we wish to provide our patients, and reduce these waiting times remains a constant focus for our staff. In the year to date, University Hospital Limerick has been managing very high levels of demand for emergency and inpatient care, and throughout this challenging time, health and social teams across the Midwest region have been working at full capacity to meet the exceptional demand of our services. They are trying to do their best, but it just doesn't seem to be enough, Hilary.
We have no criticism of the staff in UHL. In fact, I think they're amazing. I think they're amazing to be doing what they're doing every day.
We just need more of them.
We do need more of them.
Well, this is what we're wondering about you. If you live in the Clare, the Tipperary, the North Kerry, North Cork area in Limerick, what do you make of what's going on with UHL? And indeed, these are problems that are seen all over the country when it comes to overcrowding. We'd love to hear from you today. 089 611 111. Hilary Tung from the Midwest Hospital Campaign Group, who works on this all the time, and Conor Sheehan, Labour Councillor for Limerick City North. Thank you both so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, we're going to go to Limerick this Thursday. This is on the 18th, where we'll continue to highlight the ongoing crisis. You can get in touch with your own stories if you would like to get involved. We'd love to hear from you. It's WhatsApp, the usual number 089 611 111, or you can email us right now. It's irelandam@virginmedia.ie. On Sunday morning, Iran launched a series of drones and missiles. It was called Operation True Promise at Israel in retaliation for a suspected Israeli strike in Damascus that killed several Iranian commanders.
Now, joining us live from Beirut with the latest on this is journalist Hannah McCarthy. Good morning to you, Hannah. Thank you so much for joining us. The world is watching on, and last night we had an emergency meeting between G7 leaders. The UN Security Council met. What were the main takeaways from those two meetings last night?
Sure. So there's a division among kind of leaders, and we saw this at the UN security meeting in particular, between leaders or ambassadors who criticised Israel for targeting an Iranian embassy in Syria. Israel has not acknowledged this attack, but again, it's widely accepted that it was them. In this attack, they killed several Iranian commanders who oversaw their operations in Syria and Lebanon. It was considered, a military victory for Israel. This was a very provocative attack that was seen as, guaranteed to provoke a strong response from Iran. From Iran's perspective, they've been relatively restrained in how they have responded to Israeli attacks. They have only used proxies or allies so far since the war began to launch attacks at Israel. So Hezbollah in South Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, militias in Iraq. So this is the first direct attack on Israel that it has launched itself. And there is a division between Russia and China that says this was inevitable because of Israel's attack on the Iranian embassy in Syria. And then there are Western leaders who say this is unacceptable. It's an unacceptable provocation. The scale of the attack could have caused serious damage, and it was reckless in terms of escalating this regional conflict.
So there have been a reported 12 casualties from this, over 300 strikes, missile strikes and drones. But everyone has called for de-escalation, including Russia, as you mentioned there. The Iranians have said, Hannah, that they're done. This was it. This is all they're going to do. But the Israelis have said that they are going to have to respond. So in the area, you're in Beirut. What is the feeling of what's going to happen now?
So with this conflict, I think there's always kind of two audiences for every action and every message. There's because of how strongly people feel about this conflict. So there's the domestic audience, there are the Israeli public, for example, and then there's the international community. So the Israeli government wants to appear strong. The Israeli public want to hear tough man language that Israel will defend itself and they will not be pushed around. At the same time, Israel has to send a message to the international community that it is acting with some regard to the ramifications of its actions in the wider region. The vast majority of countries in the Middle East do not want an escalation. These are fragile countries. They do not have economies that can absorb the big shock of war. Lebanon is in a financial crisis and it's already got a significant amount of people from South Lebanon displaced. Tourism has taken a knock. So in Lebanon, it's not in a position where it's in any way eager for war. There is support, for the Palestinian cause, to some extent for Hamas's camp operation as well. But again, countries are in a very difficult position. I would use Jordan as an example. Jordan took part in the defense of Israel on Saturday, which is a difficult position for it to maintain because the Jordanian public strongly support the Palestinian cause. A lot of Jordanians are of Palestinian heritage, and the perception from the public and other Arab states of Jordan taking part in the defense of Israel is a difficult one for it to maintain.
Certainly, Hannah, it's going to be very scary times over the next few hours, and hopefully everything can indeed de-escalate. I hope you mind yourself. You are in Beirut reporting for us right now. Hannah McCarthy, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Hannah. Thanks
for
joining
having me
us.
on.
Cheers.
And now here to discuss the other stories making the headlines is political correspondent with the Irish Sun, Adam Higgins. Good morning.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
Let's move on to some domestic stories now. And well, they're saying that the election's not going to be for another year, but they're all in election mode, it seems.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, over the weekend, in the front pages today, so €1,200 tax break, a €10 increase to the child benefit, €12 the pension, and we're
this is a year out.
5 months away from the
budget, yeah.
So hold on, this is a tax package it's a pre-budget tax package. The budget is months away.
Yeah. The budget is coming, at the same time it always does.
September, and they said they weren't going to do any small little mini budgets.
No,
they weren't going to do.
This is just, they're talking about this budget in 5 months' time. And I think what we're seeing here today is this is coming out from the Fianna Fáil Ardèche, and you're seeing Fianna Fáil trying to get out in front of Fine Gael when it comes to, this is what we want. Because
they have been overshadowed a bit recently, obviously, with the events that are happening.
I think this is probably coming from a concern about Simon Harris and how media savvy he can be. And I think what Micheál Martin and Fianna Fáil are doing here is let's get out and claim these as our own. We have the finance minister, it'll be Michael McGrath's budget. Let's say these are Fianna Fáil measures. When really, when you look at them as well, the likes of the child benefit and the pension, both in Fine Gael's remit, that's social protection and the public expenditure minister, who would work on those.
It always feels like Pascal's going to get the credit anyway, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? I don't know why it is, but everyone just, Pascal minds
Pascal
us, sort
great.
of thing. But they're talking about, as you mentioned, 5 months before, child benefit is going to go up by €10 a month. The state pension is going to go up by at least €12 a week. So they know who they're targeting.
Yeah, exactly. They're looking at families, they're looking at the older voter there, the pensioner. And I think what you're going to see over the next 5 months is a series of announcements. You're going to see, like, even already the Taoiseach is in the job a week, and today he's announcing expansion of the hot schools meal. That'll happen later on today for 900 more schools. And I think you're going to see him specifically want to announce as much as he can, so it looks like, God, he's done a lot in 10 months. Yeah. Even though a lot of these measures were already on the way, say under Leo Varadkar, these would have happened in anyway, but he's making big splashes out of them to try and, this is how busy I am, this is what Fine Gael will do under my new energy.
What's happening today with housing? A double set of taxes on building and house will be waived for the rest of the year. Yeah, that's happening today.
Yeah, that'll be at Cabinet. It's happening, a sub-Cabinet committee that happens before the Cabinet, the regular Cabinet, which happens tomorrow. So the Housing Committee of the Cabinet are talking about, this was kind of announced over the weekend at the Fianna Fáil Ardèche by Dara O'Brien, that he would waive the levies on developers, this developer levy. The idea being that if you were building your home, your own house in rural Ireland, that would bring down the price by about 12,000, so you wouldn't have to pay the state that sort of levy. Now, it also has a knock-on effect of giving a boost to developers who are building bigger properties, bigger land, things like
They
that.
just want to speed up construction.
They want to speed it up. He says that there's tens of thousands of homes that are kind of waiting and planning and stuck, waiting for development and stuff to get through. He says that'll speed that up. Whether that will happen, I don't know.
Yeah.
Amazing if they didn't then sell them to investment funds, wouldn't it? And finally, Italian priest starts preaching in bars after church attendance wanes.
This is a great story. So
Get out among the people.
Imagine sitting in the pub on a Sunday watching a match, and at half-time a priest gets up and starts giving a mass. Imagine doing that. That's exactly what's happening here in Sardinia. This is a story in the Telegraph today where a priest has been concerned about a dip in people showing up to church. So Father Kosu, his name is, and so they say that he's concerned that people are just showing up for weddings and funerals and they're not coming to Mass every week. So instead of trying to, berate them into coming to the church, he's going to them. He's going to the pubs and he's going in and doing masses, little 15-minute masses. The evangelical half pint, he calls it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And like he said, since he started doing, now 10 bars have signed up. So he goes to 10 different bars. He preaches is what he says, and then people are loving it.
What would you think now if you were sitting in the pub there watching the match and someone came in and started preaching, doing a mass?
Well, you see, the thing is, everyone would be like, someone get the priest to preach. So if he's doing 10 bars in a night, how are you doing there? Are you all right, Father? Are you okay?
Maybe he doesn't do all 10 in one
Water
night.
and some wine all over the place. Thank you so much from the Irish Sun,
Thanks,
Adam.
guys.
Thank you so much for joining us, Adam Higgins there.
Thank you. Let us know, would you like a priest coming to your bar? Or do you still go to Mass? That's the thing, isn't it? Do you still go to Mass, and why not? Let us know, 0896 111 111.
We'll be back with you on Ireland Day in just a minute.
Hey, you're very welcome back. It's time now for the back pages of the papers with the Premier League and the Golf Masters, top of the weekend sporting agenda.
Here to have a chat with us is the 42.ie's Gavin Cooney, and we've got former Dublin footballer Paddy Andrews. Hello, how are you?
Morning,
The
guys.
golf was on. Scotty Scheffler, I was like, is his wife Meredith going to have her baby?
Was the big story.
That was the big story.
Yeah.
Baby watch. Were you on Baby Watch?
I
Didn't
have
care.
been on Baby
You
Watch.
have
I
been
did
on Baby
see
Watch.
He was leading pretty convincingly, but he'd said all along, if the call comes through,
He was gonna
I'm gonna
leave.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, when he was 4 shots clear with a couple of holes to go, I'm like, would he really go now?
Oh, my phone is on silent.
You can't have
no
you can't have
idea.
the phone on the
Well,
course,
29 years ago, Phil Mickelson did the same thing. He had a beeper going around the golf course waiting for his first child to be born. But Scotty, he took the millions rather than race home to his wife. She didn't go into labour, so that was fine. Gav, yeah, you know.
Yeah. Scotty Scheffler is,
Yeah.
obviously he's incredibly boring. Even for golf, is a very boring man. But in fairness, when you're that good at something, there is something compelling about it, and he's sensational. You know, I mean,
he is.
the jokes prior to this was like the field's best chance of beating Scheffler was if Meredith Scheffler went into labour.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the only chance that anyone really had. I mean,
It was great viewing over the weekend though, because it was fairly tight. Like there were a couple of people in the running, and Scheffler ran away with it at the end. But that young guy, Ludwig Aberg from Sweden, he looks like he's got a future ahead of him, Paddy.
He's going to do well, that guy. Very handsome, very handsome. First major. So he played in the Ryder Cup last year.
Very handsome young man.
Well, I mean, he's come second in the majors. He's 24.
We were just saying, beforehand, if we were chatting last week about this, McIlroy kind of got what you expected.
Oh.
Scheffler was the red-hot favourite. Turns out he won convincingly, but it was still great viewing over the 3 or 4 days.
Even Tiger Woods making the call.
Tiger's story was brilliant. Ober coming at this guy, his first major. At a stage yesterday, it was like he's really going to push Scheffler, Max Homa. There was lots of different stories.
Bubba Watson's daughter.
I missed that.
Did you see that?
Oh, on the par 3,
On the par 3.
Yes, the pot.
So
I must have watched that
great.
fight
It was great TV, but like the result in the end,
It's
from a long way out, Scheffler was favourite for this.
Do you know, and it's because we'll move on to another sport now, we'll move on to the Premier League, but again, it's very like that. It seemed like it was a three-way contest.
Yeah.
It seemed like we were going to have the classic finish between Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City, and unfortunately the strongest team just come right through. And at the minute, with Liverpool losing yesterday and Villa beating Arsenal, it looks like it's City's pretty much home and hose.
That's it, I think, yeah. You know, it's just like, I mean, all the Scheffler's competitors all double bogeyed within 10 minutes of each other around 11 and 12 last night. And Liverpool and Arsenal, like you say, did the same. Liverpool somehow managing to lose at home to Crystal Palace. It was shocking for Liverpool fans. It was slightly unsurprising. 23 times this season, and they've managed to come back every time. But this is when the magic ran out, and Liverpool missed so many chances.
They had so many chances. It was
crazy.
like that Man United match a couple of weeks ago that they had
special
15
What
to
is
think
like that, and that's not.
It's like watching pinball.
I know it's not normal, these misses. Like, I mean, and it's not just Darwin, it's everyone. And it must be anxiety, and it's hard to separate it from the fact that Klopp is leaving, because they're snatching at chances, and they're like, if this, like, there is no tomorrow now. Like, I mean, this is it for Klopp, so they're snatching chances. There's not another one coming, so maybe that's where it's wrapped up. But
and for Arsenal, of course, as well, to lose 2-0 to Villa, who Villa, to be fair to them, are in fourth position in the league as well, but that just running out of steam. And Man City now 2 points ahead, look like they're going to have an easy run on that one. We'll move on. We would talk GA, but according to Colin O'Rourke, the Leinster Championship is a shambles. That's the back. That's his. So we're not even going to ask you for.
I don't know if I can add any more to that.
Do you concur?
I concur.
Yeah.
Wow. I think everyone does. So,
well,
is there anything else to talk about?
No, I mean,
well, Croke Park.
Croke Park.
We can talk about Croke Park and rugby.
Yeah, okay.
Because Leinster, obviously, Leinster beat La Rochelle at the weekend.
Finally.
A classic of it. Like the first half was a super match. Of course, they ran away with it in the second half. But now Leinster are going to play the semi-final in Croke Park. So 83,000 supporters trying to sell that amount of tickets for a match against Northampton. Like, obviously, the Europa League final is on in the Aviva, so that's where it happened in Croke Park. But it's going to be tough for us to try and get that.
It's not a blockbuster game. No. I know it's a European Cup semi-final, and Leinster will be hoping for, I think the competition itself will be hoping for the goodwill from a sold-out of even the quarter-final, that those Leinster fans are going to turn up again over to Croke Park with the novelty of having it in that stadium.
All the way to the north side. Leinster fans.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Like the last time it was there, 2009, obviously, was a sellout against Munster. There was a lot of context around that game. Saturday probably sold out on the back of the La Rochelle rivalry, Ronan O'Gara factor. We're not going to have any of that against Northampton. Like, they're a good team. They're not a box office team.
But if the tickets are priced right, you might think people might just show up. Just to be like, Irish.
That's the hope. It's a chance to see Leinster in their pomp, because Leinster were sensational, I have to say, against La Rochelle. And that's what Leo Cullen is called for, because Leinster Rugby won't set the ticket prices here. It's the competition organiser, the EPCors. So, like, for Leinster's point of view, they hope that, common sense prevails.
Look at that. Like, will 25, 30,000 people in Croke Park look good on television? It doesn't. We've seen it in the GA so many times. So it's in the competition's interest to get kind of 60,000 plus people at that. And if you are setting prices for tickets, which there is the temptation for the competition to do, at 75 to 100 euros, you ain't going to get that. So it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of weeks. There's a 3-week build-up. They'll ramp up the build-up for it. But it's a big ask to get 80,000 people at that.
Absolutely.
And listen, it's something we've seen so many times as well in concerts and everybody else. Ticket prices, ticket gouging. So will the Leinster or the boss of the European Rugby do that? Listen, Paddy Andrews, great to have you with us, and Gambie Cooney from the 42.ie. Get in touch at 0896 111 111.
See you in a minute on Ireland Day. Hello, welcome back to Ireland Day. Lots more coming up this morning,
There
Tommy.
sure is. Last week, Taoiseach Simon Harris said mental health was one of the biggest challenges facing society. So at 8:15, we're going to meet the advocates doing their part to turn the tide on Ireland's mental health crisis.
And for something totally different, we're going to be speaking to the Carlingford man whose campaign to save leprechauns put him in front of the European Parliament and Paris Hilton. Now, there is a sentence that I just didn't expect.
What a legend.
We're meeting Ireland's last leprechaun whisperer at 8:45.
Brilliant, look forward to that. Plus, we're going to meet the Tyrone twosome who've toured the US comedy with comedy legend Kevin Hart and racked up millions of views across social media. Hosts of the Bomb Squad pod, Colin Geddes and Aaron McCann, are going to be with us at 9:20.
Alan is over in the kitchen this morning.
I am indeed here with Gina Daly from The Daily Dish. And Gina, we're going to do something that we've never done before. We're going to ask the viewers to decide on what your next dish will be when you're here next week. So What are the choices?
So I have air fryer restaurant-style buffalo chicken wings. Or I have...
Yes, Tommy's going, yes, wait for the second one.
Or crispy satay chicken skewers.
Oh, look at that. So there's the QR code there on the screen. So what should Gina make next week? It's up to you. But this morning, what are we making?
So I'm going to do a real treat. I'm going to do shredded beef tacos for you with a sweet, sticky, chili, spicy, delicious sauce. Got loads of stuff
that
in
was
it.
a mouthful. There you go. So scan the QR code if you want to see next week's buffalo chicken wings or chicken satay. But later on, we're going to have a beautiful taco dish. So that we're looking forward to that. Yes. We're letting you decide. Now, Deric is treading the boards this morning. Deric, the spotlight's on you. Where are you?
Absolutely, Al. We're down here in Dundrum in South County Dublin. Sandyford Little Theatre celebrating 90 years up and running. They've got their brand new production. Brendan, tell us about the production here.
Well, we're on this week, Tuesday to Saturday, in DLR Mill Theatre. Very excited about it. We've got the set practically ready, lines are done, and we're just ready to go.
And it's a great play, really, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. Agatha Christie, you can't get much better than that. And it's one of her favourite ones, the favourite one of hers.
All right, we'll have more here, guys, live here from the Mill Theatre in Dundrum, right across the mine. But for now, back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Deric.
What's the play? Did he say what it was? The Mousetrap? Anyway, OK, we'll find out a little bit later on. I don't know if he said it. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times, the headline there. Biden leads condemnation of Iran's missile strikes on Israel. The United States president has led the unequivocal condemnation of Iran's air missile attack on Israel as Western leaders vow to work to avoid further destabilisation in the Middle East. Israel has pledged to, quote, exact a price for the Iranian attack at a time that suits.
It's time the world faces evil empire of Tehran is similarly the top story on the Daily Mail. Tel Aviv was reportedly pulled back from the brink of immediate retaliation by US President Joe Biden after Saturday night's airstrike.
The mayor goes with step back from brink. Iran was last night warned by G7 leaders its attack on Israel has put the region on the brink of war. Experts warn strikes between the two countries may spark further bloodshed in a region already devastated by the carnage in Gaza.
The Examiner leads with families of victims want parole reform. Simon Harris has been urged to rush through legislation that would stop families of the victims of some of the country's worst criminals from being put through traumatic parole hearings for at least 20 years.
The Sun's front page, sick prison boasts of Aisling Murphy's killer has been proclaiming his innocence behind bars. Joseph Pushka told inmates, "I didn't do it, they got the wrong man." Pushka's convinced he'll win his appeal later this year.
The Herald goes with pensioner in carjack horror ordeal. Armed Gardaí have arrested a serial criminal after a carjacking involving a female pensioner in Dublin. The suspect is well known for involvement in burglaries and robberies.
The Star leads with "We will bring Kinahans to justice." Taoiseach Simon Harris has vowed to bring down the Kinahan cartel, saying, "I fully support the Gardaí's work to bring these criminals to justice." The DEA in the US expects to move against the cartel soon, we're told.
And finally, €1,200 tax back for average worker and giveaway budget. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. A personal tax package worth around €1,200 per person is now expected to be included in the next budget, which is what, in August, October. Child benefit will go up by €10 a month and the pension will increase by at least €12 a week. When is the budget?
In 5 months' time.
And the election's not till next year, so they're really going into election.
The election could be any time.
Well, if they're all saying they're going to run the full term, Simon needs to get in and give it a bit of run at it.
But sure, it looks
a run at what? Nothing.
It looks like he doesn't want to run that referendum.
No, they're cancelling that.
Kathleen, I like your text on that headline. It feels like the government are trying to start buying people's votes. It's only the start of what they're going to throw at people.
Sure, that's what all governments do. Give us back our USC. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
The USC.
And of course,
about that, haven't we?
earlier on, we were talking about the overcrowding in University Hospital in Limerick, and we are going to be down there on this coming Thursday to look at the continuing situation in the hospital there. And we're getting lots of texts in. My elderly dad had a bad fall and was on a trolley for 4 days in UHL. His health drastically deteriorated during these 4 days, which led to an even longer recovery period. And of course, that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, and we receive these messages all the time, and for anyone who goes to any sort of a hospital, and when we talk to anyone who's been in Sligo General Hospital to St Vincent's, to wherever you are in the country, there's always these amazing messages about the staff, and we are not pointing. It's about how it's being run. I was treated in UHL, and the nursing staff are doing great work. None of the problems are their fault. The porters in UHL are some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. They're unbelievable. They run around that place helping patients all the time. The cleaning staff, everyone, we know that. But for some reason, it's then not functioning. So we're looking at a system, not individual staff, I think, for all of this.
I previously went to UHL and experienced long waiting times. Eventually, I ended up going elsewhere. The understaffing and overcrowding is ridiculous. I would not bring my elderly parents there if they needed an ED, and we only live 12 kilometres from the hospital. That's what we were saying earlier. Where else are you going to go?
Where else are you going to go? Well, we are going to cover that in more detail, obviously, on Thursday when we are down there. But very quickly, there was one about an Italian priest who said he wanted to get out because people are only going to the church for weddings or funerals or whatever. So he went to the pubs, the local pubs, and he started doing mass in local pubs. And we wanted to know, would it be something you'd like to do?
A 15-minute sermon. I like the sound of that.
Just getting out into the pubs.
But if they did more 15-minute sermons in or out, I'd say more people would go to mass. Wouldn't they?
Go to mass.
No,
I mean, that's what he's doing. He's 15-minute sermon at half-time of the football match.
No, with the price of alcohol, if you can actually turn my water into wine, I'm all for it.
I'll be there.
There we go. That's it.
Like
089 111 to get in contact with us today.
Lots more still to come. Get in touch with your text messages, please. We'll see you back here after the break. Good morning, you're very welcome back. Now, ahead of Pieta House's Darkness into Light fundraiser next month, we're learning more about their services and the impact they've had.
Service user Damien Sheridan joins us now to share his story alongside Ray Burke from Pieta House. Thank you both so much for being here. We really do appreciate it. And, you know, Damien, this is never easy, but you have decided to share your story. So can you tell us when you felt there was something wrong in yourself, that perhaps your head wasn't the best?
Yeah, well, I think it spans back a very long time, actually. But as I say, like, I kind of always am very refined with myself. I keep everything in. I don't really speak to other people. And it always seemed over the years to get to the point where it became too much, and then it collapsed down around me, and I'd reset and restart again. Like, I've always had incredible support from my wife and my family. But I, even still at that day, wouldn't know the full extent of kind of what was going on in my head, like, you know, and that just came from everything, like juggling life, juggling finances, and worried about your kids, making sure they have everything. You know, the pandemic came in, and yeah, to be honest, it was a bit of a thrill at the beginning because you're getting to work from home, and, you know, it was good. But then it kind of got that whole social isolation thing. You weren't getting out and about, and, you know, I love motorbikes. I love being able to go out on a long spin. I find that's kind of my therapy, and it clears my head. And kind of you were very refrained from doing that. So, like, you know, kind of what I had going on with me, I had no release. I had no way of letting it go. It got to the stage where I didn't like speaking to my wife because I didn't want, not as in speaking to her, I just didn't want her worried about what I was worried about. And, you know, then kind of the cost of living came in, everything was going through the roof. And, you know, I was just putting myself so much pressure. I'm a pleaser. I hate saying no to people. I'll always put everybody else before myself. And it just kind of got to the stage then where I've had enough, like, and I just couldn't balance things. I was in the gym. I was doing everything on paper right. I was going to the gym 3-4 times a week. My weight was the lowest it ever been. I was out walking.
But you weren't right. You weren't up, and if your wife, like, she knew that there's something not right here, but you weren't willing to talk to her. And there's something we hear from guys in particular with this, that they're, you know, they don't like opening up and talking about this. But you did realise something wasn't right. Yeah. There was an employee support programme through your work, and you felt, listen, I need to go and talk to somebody about this. Which is well done to you, and it's something that we encourage so many people to do. But a lot of the support programs out there probably aren't
given the good support that maybe people need. What was your experience of that?
No, that's it. Like, my job were absolutely fantastic. They supported me in every way that I can. So I availed of the programme, which was a 6-week cognitive behavioural therapy programme. So I made a call anyway, and to an external provider. And they went through an assessment with me, and they said to me, you know, have you ever had any thoughts of suicide? And I said, well, you know, yes, I've thought in the sense that, you know, the world would be better off without me, my family would be better off without me. I said, but it's not my intention. I said, you know, it's not something that I'd actually do.
So you actually thought that?
Yeah.
You have a family.
Yeah.
And you not considered, but like the thought did come into your head that
they'd be better off out here, yeah.
Why?
Just kind of the pressure of everything. And to be honest, sometimes you think, you know what, I'm actually worth more than what I'm dead financially. And, you know, then them kind of pressures come into you, and it was just kind of, it was a thought, and that's all it was like. But when I mentioned this to them in the assessment, they were like, no, we can't help you.
Is this because it was cognitive behavioural therapy and you had mentioned something to do with suicidal ideation and they're like, you need something different?
And I was told, well, you know, you need to like reach out to Pieta House or another charity or another, you know, therapy that deals with suicide. And I was like, hold on. I said, you know, I haven't said to you that I'm going to kill myself or I'm going to take my life. I said, yeah, I've had a thought that, you know, that I'd rather, you know, it might be better if I was out of here. I said, I've no intentions of doing it. I know that myself. I said, I overthink things too much. I always think about, you know, I've had friends that, you know, took their own lives. I've had friends, cousins that took their own life. And I see the damage and devastation it leaves behind. And, you know, that's what I overthink. I think, no, I actually couldn't do that to my family.
Yeah, and I know you did go and see a support somebody about this. And listen, I think that it's important to know that you can go and see a therapist, and that sometimes it doesn't connect. And I know you and the initial therapist, it didn't quite connect, and maybe you felt messed around a little bit. But you did then reach out to Pieta House.
I did, yeah, I did.
And what, in terms of service, do they offer that was different from other services that you've experienced?
Well, I picked up the phone and I rang them and kind of explained my situation. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, you know what, there's somebody that needs this more than me. And I told them exactly what was going on and how I felt, and, you know, said, you know, this was my thought. I'm not going to go through with it. I said, but, you know, like, my last experience didn't work out so well. I said, I don't know what to do, like. And they were so friendly, they were so involved, they were so engaged. They asked me, would I be interested in online or face-to-face? I said, I'd rather do face-to-face because, you know, I just don't see that connection there. So, well, I was waiting for an appointment to come up, and it wasn't long. I think it was about 3 weeks. They check in with me every week. They give me a call, see how I was, make sure everything was all right. And immediately there was that support there before I actually got to sit down with somebody. So when I did eventually get to sit down with somebody, I sat down with an amazing lady who was very open, who actually listened to what I had to say, and more so gave me what I needed. That she gave me pointers and what I should be doing, little tools to work with. And like, the reality was, when I look back, I couldn't actually remember the last time I actually genuinely felt happy. You know, I'd have my little spurs of happiness. I'd organise an event and I'd get my little thrill from it, and, you know, it'd be great or whatever. But you know,
a prolonged period of actually feeling content. And I can understand how hard that is, because you mentioned something there that's terrifying, and I think that it might be connecting with people at home. And Ray, Damien just mentioned, my family would be better off financially without me. We know what happened during the crash in Ireland, where there were people taking their lives as a result of financial pressures, that things that happen in life are very difficult. Thinking something like that, it's terrifying. We're in a cost of living crisis. There's so many things coming from different levels. I'm sure that you at Pieta are hearing this a lot at the moment.
Absolutely. Like, I think, you know, anyone can experience a mental health difficulty in their lives at any time. It's an issue that can affect really everybody. You know, people will experience bereavements. They'll lose loved ones over the course of their lives. They might experience difficulty with their housing situation, with their income. So it's really an issue that impacts everybody. And I think what's important to know is that there are services and supports there that are available to people. There was someone there for Damien when he reached out to Pieta, and we were, really privileged to be able to support him. And it's great to see how well Damien is doing now, and he is doing really well. And but yeah, I think that's the key part, is that people are experiencing challenges in their lives, to reach out for support, because there is supports there available.
And there are supports available. What supports are available, actually? Because I know that this, like Pieta House, is 85% funded by fundraising events like Darkness into Light. So what does that fundraising go towards?
So we provide a whole range of different services and support. So we do education and training programs in schools. Our Amber Flag and Resilience Academy program are really targeted at children and young people, building up resilience and showing people what good mental health looks like, and making sure that young people have the skills to be able to cope with difficult situations when they arise. But I think our biggest area of work is our clinical services. So we have a 24/7, 365 days a year crisis phone and text line. It's fully staffed by qualified therapists, so if you need to reach out for support, you can speak to a qualified professional any time of the day or night, whatever time of the year. We
in 2023, you had 100,000 crisis calls and texts.
Yeah.
100,000.
It's enormous, and their mental health difficulties is pervasive in Ireland, and many people need to reach out for support. As well as the crisis phone and text line, we have a large national counselling service, so this is what Damien would have accessed.
Yeah.
So there's counselling, professional counselling by accredited therapists available all across the country. We have 22 centres, and you can also do it by phone and video if you prefer to do it from your own home.
It's amazing. Listen, Damien, I know you're organising your own Darkness into Light. It's cruising from Darkness into Light, the motorcycle community, which hopefully you'll be able to join them, travelling from Dublin to Wexford. How do they find out more info on that?
Well, if you just Google from Cruising from Darkness into Light, the event will pop up. It's organised through Facebook, and we have a Facebook event set up. It's being sponsored by Joe Duffy, BMW Motorrad, who have been actually phenomenal.
And that's all on a GoFundMe. People can find that there. And of course, Darkness into Light is taking place on Saturday, the 11th of May. This is nationwide. It happens globally as well. So many of the Irish diaspora does it. For more information, you can go to darknessintolight.ie, and we're proud to be involved in that.
Absolutely.
This year.
It's just frightening when you look at some of the statistics, and this just a couple of years ago, 504 deaths were to suicide, 366 of those were men. It's the leading cause of death in Irish men under the age of 25. Well done for coming on here and speaking about it, Damien. Really, hopefully will bring a bit of lightness to people's life out there, and urge them to go out and get in touch with people. Damien Sheridan from Pieta House, and Ray Burke, of course, Pieta House as well. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, guys.
much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Hello, you're very welcome back. Gina Daly is banishing those Monday blues with...
Tommy's very excited.
Very happy, yes. Good morning to you, Gina. What
Hello.
have we got?
Before we get into tonight's dinner, we want you to put your 2 cents in and decide what Gina should be making next week. Now, there's a QR code coming up on your screen there. So, do you want the chicken buffalo wings, which Tommy really wants, or do you want chicken skewers? So get onto the QR code there and let us know what you want Gina to make next week. Tommy's beyond there now going.
I will.
Oh yeah, look, oh yeah. So the buffalo wings are winning at the moment.
They're winging.
Winging it.
Winging at the moment.
Gina, good morning. So
Good morning.
what are we having today?
So I made some lovely slow-cooked pulled beef. Okay, so what I'm doing with this one today is I'm giving you tacos, so you can make them up yourselves.
Brilliant.
And I'm serving it with rice and onions. So basically, the slow cook. So I did it in the slow cooker. So that's a top rib or the housekeeper's cut. If you can see it there, it's a nice cheap.
The housekeeper's cut. So what? You just go into the butcher and ask for that.
Into the butcher or into your supermarket. You can buy it pre-packed, like a kilogram of it.
Right.
It's usually around €10, €8.
And is it called housekeeper's cut?
Housekeeper's cut. I think it was. Back in the day, it would have been the cheapest one for the mammy of the house to buy and feed all the kids. So this is lovely to slow cook. So it's a bit of a tough piece of meat. So best to do it low and slow. If you don't have a slow cooker, pop it in the oven for about 3 hours at 160 with a drop of water, and it'll be absolutely beautiful.
And you cover with tin foil?
So no, you can, or else just put a little lid on it. So with this one, I put beef stock into it just to keep it nice and moist and juicy. So if you can see it there, hang on, I'll show you now.
Oh, it's very good.
So this is how it turned out. So this is the.
Now, 3 hours later, if it's in the oven.
3 hours later, or I did this overnight. So this was like 8 hours. So you can see.
And what are you putting it into there?
So this is a sticky sweet sauce. I'll show you how to make that now. It's something very simple. So we do these with nachos or tacos. So this sauce is made with Coca-Cola. It's made with garlic. It's made with a bit of Worcester sauce, soy sauce, and sweet chili sauce.
You make that up yourself?
And just mixed into a pan, let it kind of come to a boil and thicken up. And you'll see there.
So you did that overnight. So you put it on a low heat with what did you put into the bottom of the slow cooker?
So just beef stock into the slow cooker. So very simple. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
For what, 8 hours?
8 hours. Now, if you do it on high, for 4 or 8 for low.
Okay.
And then, so the sauce then, as I said, it's literally, this is how quick and easy it is. You just pour your Coke into a pan.
All right.
Just Coca-Cola?
Coca-Cola. And I'm a glugger and a chugger.
What's that?
Soy sauce.
That's a gross, all right.
It's like whatever you have in the fridge.
And what's that?
Sweet chili sauce.
Okay.
And that's going to give it the sweetness and a little bit of a chili kick. You can put chilies into it as well. Garlic granules for a little bit of a...
Is this it here, in this pot here?
Yeah. Don't choke.
Oh, sorry.
I'm only joking.
Sorry, I'm going to go over
And
here
then
and
all
get
you
some of
do
that sauce on my beef.
Is you just mix it up like that, then throw a bit of corn flour in to thicken it up, and it goes like this lovely glossy sauce.
Look at this glossy sauce. I want a bit of the glossy sauce there.
So if you put a tray like this, so this is what I usually do. I bought about £7 million today. Yeah. I was well prepared. So you put your tray, put your beef onto the tray, then put your rice. So if you want it like a Mexican style, or if you don't do it with nachos or tacos, and then pop that in the middle of the table with your soft tortilla wraps. You can even dunk your wraps into
dead handy,
the juice,
isn't it?
which is absolutely gorgeous. So that's a really
now
nice
that
kind of
sauce
tip.
is gorgeous. There's a real kick off it though. So what's in it again? There's a Coca-Cola.
Kick off? There's nothing spicy in it, is there?
No, but...
So, yeah, there's sweet chili sauce. And I put chili flakes in that one.
All right.
I made that one a bit... I had time to make that one. So what we're going to do then is just take a few chives, break them up, put them over the beef, which is going to give it a little bit of a kick. A few crispy onions.
Oh, here.
Go on, we'll have
I
another.
forgot to give you them.
Onions.
Can I have the tray? I'm going to make up another one because that was absolutely delicious.
Of course.
So you just fried off onions, peppers. Is there any garlic or anything else in that?
So I put soy sauce, onions, peppers, and a little bit of garlic.
Okay.
Sesame oil is really important. It gives it that nice kind of Asian-inspired taste. And then once they're fried off, that's it. So it's such a simple dish. Apart from the cooking of the beef, which is the couple of hours, everything else is really handy. What you can do as well is what I like the yuck song I did the last day, is serve it in lettuce leaves if you don't want the tortilla wraps, or with nachos.
Could you do overnight chicken as well? Does it have to be? Yeah.
Anything.
Okay.
So you can put your pork, your chicken, your beef into the slow cooker, or again...
Now, that wouldn't need as much. A chicken wouldn't need as much time, would it?
No, it can kind of dry out a bit. So I always put a little bit of liquid in the bottom just to keep it nice and moist. Right. And yeah.
How did you know to come up with... Was that your own concoction with the Coca-Cola?
Yeah, so I make a really nice satay, which is... If the satay wins next week, it's the same kind of idea. So a lot of my sauces are the same base.
Okay.
So
Coca-Cola based type of thing, or?
So these ones, the sweet ones, the Asian kind of inspired ones, are Coca-Cola as the base, which gives it that sticky sweet flavour. Soy sauce, garlic, and then with the satay, I just throw peanut butter and curry powder into it.
Let's have a look at the poll then. So what are we going to be having tomorrow? Here we go, whether the satay wins. No, we're having the buffalo chicken
wings.
I got to use my air fryer.
So that's a bonus.
So it looks like it's buffalo chicken wings for next week. Gina, this is delicious.
Yeah, really tasty.
Really is,
Thank
really
you so
tasty.
much.
Thanks so much for that.
I'm going for a second one.
We'll see you next week for buffalo wings.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, now after the break, we're meeting the man who claims to be Ireland's last leprechaun whisperer.
Yes, we're going to chat about forging friendships with the fairies and Paris Hilton after the break.
go. Paddy's Day still happening.
I know, I'm like, we're in the wrong month, aren't we, for something like that. As a nation, we're known for our mythological tales of fairies and leprechauns. Well, our next guest not only claims they still walk amongst us, but that he can communicate with them.
Joining us now to discuss the mythical abilities and campaigning for the protection of leprechauns is Ireland's last leprechaun whisperer, Kevin Woods. Good morning to you, Kevin.
Morning, Al.
Lovely,
Morning, Mary.
Hello,
lovely
Kevin.
to see you,
Lovely
Kevin.
to
So
see you.
tell us, what is a leprechaun whisperer?
Effectively, I talk to leprechauns. I communicate with them, and my job really is to make sure that they survive as a species. There are 236 left. There were millions of them, and they all died out except for 236.
How do you know there's only 236 left?
Well,
can we say this is not actual physical? This is spiritual beings, is it?
Well, they are spirits, and they manifest themselves to me in a form that I want to see them in. Or you may see them as angels, you may see them as fairies. You see them in whatever form you see them in. At the moment, I see them as children. Before, I saw them as old men in the same mode as you would think leprechaun, but now I see them as children.
There's only 236 left. Is that what you said?
That's
Why?
right.
Why is that?
Well, they all died. There were millions of them, as you know, all over Ireland. And
So just in Ireland, are they?
they were only in Ireland, yeah. But
Right.
they're an Irish spirit. And that I'm not going back to the times when the Earth's plates moved. From
Yeah, we're not going
North
back to
America, not going back there at
Pangea.
all,
No,
yeah,
no.
Okay.
But why are there only 236?
The rest of them all died, and effectively what happened was that the leprechaun spirit attached itself to the human spirit, and it didn't do that until the Vikings came to Ireland, say around 802. And they were so cruel that the leprechaun said that he would help. The leprechaun said that he would help the human, and his spirit became attached to the human spirit. And as years went on, and after the famine, and people went away to America and whatever, and made more money, they stopped believing in the leprechaun.
So
So it's based on spirit. It's based on belief. When the belief died, there were only 236 believers left.
And who do you like? So there's like yourself. So there's only 236 believers who have an ability to speak to leprechauns left in
No,
Ireland.
there's only one left. There are 236 spirits left in Ireland who manifest themselves to me.
To
as
me,
leprechauns.
okay. So you manifest these 236 that are remaining, is it?
I don't manifest them. They manifest themselves to me.
Right. So you don't know what you're going to get when you're speaking.
I do, because that's what I want to find.
Okay.
It's a wee bit complicated. That's what I want to see. If I wanted to see them as something else, I could see them. If I wanted to see them as angels or fairies, I could see them in that form. But I want to see them as leprechauns, and now I want to see them as child leprechauns.
But you say you're our last leprechaun whisperer. What happens when you're gone? Do they all go?
No. Originally, they asked me to pass on the gifts that I had 2 hours before I died to the eldest of a family of 7 sons.
Do you have them ready to go?
I have the 7 sons ready to go, and 2 daughters, yes.
So in your own family, you will pass it
In
down?
my own family. No, none of my family want it.
Right.
Okay. So, no, I've asked them, the leprechauns, I've asked them what they want me to do about that. So anyone that comes in now into my cavern, or into their cavern really, which is below...
it's subterranean in Carlingford. Yeah, Deric has been there before. Our Deric went up and visited you.
He did as well, the forecast from there,
yes,
didn't
he did.
Well, I give them a test when they're in there, and if they're psychic, they can get the gift. But they don't get it until I die.
Okay. So it's all concentrated in you, this sort of
It is. I'm
communion.
a sort of, I won't call it Messiah, but I am the protector of those that were left. I was chosen by them to be the protector, unknown to myself at the time. I got them protected by the European Union in 2009 as a species.
When did you discover that you had this gift?
Now, well, you're going back nearly 25 years when I first met one.
Okay, and in Carlingford?
On the mountain, yeah.
And you just had a chat? Seriously?
Yeah, I had a chat. I first met 3. I couldn't communicate with them. I came down and told the community, including my wife, that I had seen 3 leprechauns, and they didn't believe it. She didn't believe me, and nobody believed me. And that was fine. I hardly believed it myself.
Yeah, you must have been in shock.
And I went up another day and to the same spot, and I found one. And he introduced himself to me, and he told me the story of his life. He told me they were here from the beginning of time. I wrote it all down. I published it in a book called The Last Leprechauns of Ireland, which was based on the history, geology, mythology, and social history of Ireland from the beginning of time, as witnessed by them.
Now, Kevin, just sorry. So when you're sort of saying you saw 3 of them, are these like, in all sense of purpose, a physical being in front of you? That you're actually seeing these physical beings in front of you? It's not like you have to close your eyes and you're imagining it.
No.
You actually see this.
Oh, of course, yeah. And you would too if you had the gift.
And is it for, people who have, the angel cards and the angel readers, is it the same thing?
I don't know.
You don't know. You don't do any of that. Okay.
Yeah. I just do one thing. I can't heal anybody. All my function in life for the rest of my life is to protect them as a species. We can't produce more of them because they're spirits. There's only 236. And so long as I have 236 believers left in the country, I'm home in a hack. If I have more, that just ensures their protection.
When you went to get you went to the European level to secure their protection, as you mentioned, in 2009.
Yes.
They got protected status. So
as a species, yes.
As a species.
And subsequently, I had 24 members of the European Parliament came to me to hear the story. I have a story room where I bring them down into the subterranean world where they are.
So is this actually passed in law, like?
Yes, of course.
It is.
They're a protected species at EU level.
So you went to Europe and you sort of got this protection.
Well, I didn't go to Europe. I lobbied.
You lobbied it, and they've agreed it.
And Mairead McGuinness, and I think it was a guy called Crowley down in Cork at the time, and various other ones.
And Kevin, what do you say to people who might be watching this morning and go, "Oh, that's a lot of nonsense" and stuff like that, which you must get from people?
Well, you get.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you get 50% of the people.
Yeah.
But sure, have I said to some people about God, or people tells me that's a lot of nonsense.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Or if they tell me that Simon Harris is the new Taoiseach and whatever, and he's going to be useless, 50%, I may think he's wonderful, but others may think he'll be useless. So it doesn't. It should not faze you that people don't believe you.
Okay. No. You met Paris Hilton when you went on this morning to have a chat about them?
Well, I didn't know I was meeting Paris Hilton. What I knew was I was ready to go on the show, and they asked me to bring a leprechaun with me, and I brought one in a bag. And I was talking to him in the bag in the green room while I was waiting to go on. She was following after this lady, as I knew, was following after me. And I was talking to a man in the bag, hitting him an odd slap.
Did you not bring one this morning for us?
Oh, you're way ahead of me. Let me finish one story.
All right, go on.
I could have. Anyway, this lady said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Kevin Woods. I'm Ireland's last leprechaun whisperer. I come from the beautiful town of Carlingford in County Louth." And I said, and she said, "Are you on the show?" And I said, "I am. I think I'm on at 20 to 11.
Yeah.
And I said, "Are you on the show?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Who are you?" And she said, "I'm Paris Hilton." And I said, "What do you do?" And she said that she had written a book, and I told her I had written 6 books on the history, geology, mythology, and whatever. What was hers about? And she said, me.
It's about herself.
About herself.
You thought it was a bit boring?
And when she came on after me, the first thing she said, "My God, that was a very fun show."
There you go. Always a fun
where's
show.
our leprechaun this morning? You didn't bring one?
I didn't bring one this morning, no.
Why?
No.
You are Ireland.
Because it was too early in the morning for me to be going up to get them off the mountain. You know,
Right.
if
Well,
you
listen.
had, and they paid the travel over.
We wouldn't pay the travel down for the
I didn't
leprechaun.
hear anything from yours.
This
Very
morning
good,
paid
isn't that
the travel for the leprechaun. Love it. And we wouldn't. Right.
Ireland's last leprechaun whisperer. You can find out everything online, of course. Kevin has loads of books. Kevin Woods, thank you so much for joining us back on Ireland AM very shortly.
Thanks, guys.
Hello welcome back. Coming up in the final hour of Ireland AM, we have got podcast chart toppers, heartfelt authors and Broadway wannabes.
Coming up next is comedians Colin Geddes and Aaron McCann. They're going to be stopping by to talk about broadcasting with besties and using their trademark Tyrone humour to rack up millions of views online.
Chatting in just a little while, young adult author Jenny Ireland joins us to talk about leaving her job as a paralegal and how also struggling with her health led her to pursue her writing dreams.
Alan, what else have we got?
Well, coming up now, our Deric is getting his acting chops ready because he's going to take to the stage. Deric, are you getting all method on us this morning?
I'm getting proper method on you this morning, guys. Welcome down here to the Mill Theatre in Dundrum. With some of the cast and crew here of Sandyford's Little Theatre. Dorothy and Erin join us now. Dorothy, how long are you acting?
Since 1983.
And how are you finding this production now?
Fabulous. It's a great production. A cast of thousands. The witness for the prosecution.
Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie,
yeah. Great. And what's your role in it?
I play Mrs. Carter and I am the chief clerk of Sir Wilfrid's chambers.
Okay, Erin, what age are you?
5.5.
5.5. And I believe you come down to all the rehearsals? You do?
Yeah.
And what's your favourite thing about the rehearsals?
Mommy's song.
Mammy sings an Italian song. And Dorothy, I believe it's your birthday today.
Yes.
You are. Are we going to sing happy birthday? Come on. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dorothy. Happy birthday to you. That was gorgeous. Back to you in studio. You're such a cutie. Well
Gorgeous.
done.
What a-
You were amazing.
She was amazing. Well done. Well
Dorothy
done, Derek.
also giving it socks for her own happy birthday song. Well done. Happy birthday to everyone who's out there. That was for you today. We'll be catching up with A Witness for the Prosecution. That's the name of the play. Catching up with Deric again in just a little while.
Hello, you're very welcome back. Now, a number of issues we've been discussing this morning. One is what's going on down in University Hospital Limerick. The emergency department discussed about the overcrowding, the trolley figures, the lengthy waits, and we've had a huge amount of messages coming through on it. On a recent visit to UHL, I had my bloods taken at 5 p.m. No results came back until 2 a.m. There's plenty of staff, but this is a good one. So there's plenty of staff, but feels like a lack of organisation and coordination. Because that's the thing, that there's an awful lot of money being pumped into there, but where is that money going? Who's it going to?
A message just says it's not just Limerick. We said that earlier on. Obviously, these are issues that are affecting people right across the country. We live in a different part of the country. My husband was taken to hospital by ambulance at 6:30 on Friday evening. He is still on a trolley now. We received that message just in the last while. So that is all weekend. First of all, we hope your husband's okay.
Or 6:30 on Friday, yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully
taken
he's
by
okay.
ambulance, so hopefully he's doing okay. But the fact he's still on a trolley the whole weekend.
But 9 hours waiting for a blood to come back. Like just sitting there and maybe, hopefully, to come back and say everything's okay and you can go home, but you're still sitting there for 9 hours.
Yeah, like if they went home, yeah, exactly. If you have to wait in hospital, I'm sure frustrating for the staff who are working there as well. We're also speaking about Pieta House and the great work that they do ahead of the Darkness into Light walk taking place on the 11th of May. We spoke to Damien Sheridan, who kind of opened up about his own story and just how talk about men and how they don't really talk to each other and how he went through a really difficult time. And Maura just said, well done to Damien. What a great interview. You have helped so many by doing this and being so honest, because that's a big thing.
That's the thing, yeah. People going through that, and just if you can talk to somebody, try and open up a little about it. And I think a lot of men just can't.
Yeah, well, reports in the paper today that people are taking more of their health insurance, their income protection because of mental health issues. So people are, you have to take extended period of time off work.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes, there's reports that an awful lot more people are doing that. It was up 7% last year. Going, I just have to take the time off work because I'm not feeling well. Yeah. So a lot of people are doing
I wonder now exactly what the services are available, because we know the great work that Pieta House do, but are there other, like, are we getting the level of help that we need?
Thank you very much for all of your messages this morning. Lots to come in this final hour. We'll be back with you in Ireland AM in just a minute. Welcome back. Our next guests are Tyrone-based comedians turned podcasters. They do both at the same time, who have amassed over 2 million views on TikTok, toured with Kevin Hart and sold out venues across the country.
Wow, hosts of the Bomb Squad podcast, Colin Geddes and Aaron McCann, join us now. Good morning to you, lads.
Morning,
But before
lads.
we get chatting, let's take a look at them pondering on the Irish goodbye.
Have you ever known anyone to do like, I know Americans call it an Irish goodbye, which I've never understood that.
Oh, yeah.
I used to do that.
It should be called like an Irish goodbye, as you say goodbye to everybody at the event, and you might as well have stayed to the end anyway.
Yeah, and schedule when you're next going to see them.
Yeah.
Come here, I must
Terry Muller was asking for it.
Yeah. I must head on here, but sure, here, give me a shout tomorrow. We'll organise something anyway. I haven't seen your ones in forever.
Oh.
Is Trevor still with you?
I know. We shouldn't wait for a funeral to be meeting up.
That's... I heard that one. Jesus, if I had the bingo card from my old boy's wake, I heard that about 20 times.
I'm so glad I wore that hat for a joke on the day.
We should do this next week, lads. Should we? Yeah, do this next week.
My mum's going to be the decade. My mum's going to be so fuming. You picked a clip of me.
Aaron, that did bounce around the place, didn't it? It really did.
Yeah.
You hit a lot of things.
Out of the way, Aaron. Come on.
I know. I'm off them now. There's a big shock. I'm not Nordic Spurden right now, but...
Good morning to the lads of the Bomb Squad podcast.
Good morning.
Bomb Squad, tell us where, why, how, Colin, where did the name come from?
Oh, the name? Well, in comedy, the term bombing is a thing, bombing and killing. It's all very aggressive. So we had a long day in the office one day with a whiteboard, just kind of writing names down and like bomb. And I was like, the Bomb Squad? And everybody just kind of like shut their notebooks and we're like, brilliant, we'll start it. And
That's it. We're good. We're good to go.
That's it, yeah.
And it's taken off. Aaron, you do an awful lot. Like with the Irish goodbye, I agree with you, by the way. Where is this thing of us?
No idea.
Yeah. Where did it come from that we all disappear?
I lived in LA for a year and heard people use it all the time, and I was like, this couldn't be more inaccurate.
We have to say goodbye to 50 million people that we might know before we leave
schedule
the
the next time you're going to see them, ask them how their mother's doing, all that carry on.
Yeah.
Even when you are too drunk, you got to talk to the taxi driver for
20
minutes before you close the door, you know. Like,
100%.
I'm going now. Is that all right?
Yeah, okay. 100%. But you do owl boy language as well.
Yeah.
Oh, tell us about that. We'll all be nodding along going, yeah.
Owl boy is its own language. You know, I feel like at a certain age you kind of morph into like, having your own sort of, dialect. It's only something that can be passed after you're like 70 or so. So like you just have all these terminologies and like ways of speaking, and your voice changes too. Like if you go into a bar in Tyrone, it's mostly old boys. It sounds like you're in Area 51. Because they all talk like that, They're all talking away like that, what are you at?
and they just don't go home.
Yeah, they're forever. They are furniture, like.
Sitting there.
It tells, like, the podcast is flying at the minute. And, Colin, like, you've been doing podcasts, you've been in comedy for a long time. Yeah. You obviously had Barry the Blender, Henderson as well.
Yeah.
But
like
that was your character, who like I think it's like 10 million views online, whatever else insane. But tell me, when that is going well, and some young fella comes up to you in the aisles in his school uniform, and now you're doing a podcast together, how did the two of you come together?
Well, that is a weird story. Yeah, I think I was on the way to Bundoran, and we stopped at an Asda to buy beer, basically. And this, 35-year-old man in a school uniform come up to me like, oh, you do comedy, and is there anywhere has open mics? I'd love to try stand-up. And then we just ran into each other at gigs, and then we've been gigging together for years, obviously. And then just last year, we were like, the hits on the podcast that we do together were quite big. So we're like, should we not do a podcast together? And now we're just, we don't leave each other's company 24/7.
Yeah, you're kind of, you're together. You are as one. It's nice when that works out, doesn't? Like Aaron, in all fairness, when you're like, this will be good, but next thing it's like, oh, we don't hate each other. This is working.
Yeah, podcast partner is like a relationship. Like,
yeah, it is.
Yeah. I podcast with some people, and I'm like, never again. Like, first date only, ghost.
Tell us who.
It's like a bad
it is like a bad
for 60 minutes. You're like, come on.
What's going on? We got to. Well, you kind of went in that sort of. You all invite us in, because we can watch you, we can listen to you, all that kind of stuff. It becomes this big production. So when you started doing stuff like this, like when was the first time you did a podcast? How many years ago, Colin?
2000. 9.
2000, like right, you know,
Yeah.
we're talking at the start.
I just had a little recorder in a room talking to myself.
A little Zoom recorder,
Yeah,
off
like a
you
lunatic,
go,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's this big production.
Our
so when
studio
you,
looks like this, you know?
It does.
You know,
Yeah, it's exactly
same thing, near enough.
it's probably nicer to be
It
fair.
smells a bit worse, but it's, you know, same setup technically.
Did you take Kevin Hart into it?
No.
No.
No, I couldn't get at him. Couldn't get speaking to him.
Because you were opening for Kevin Hart for a couple of weeks, couple of months. How did
3 months, I think, in total, with like a 2-week break in the middle.
Like that's insane. How did it come about?
Well, he was shooting a movie in Belfast because it's cheap, you know, and he wanted to run his set. You know, he was going on a giant tour after that. He wanted to just run through the set, and he did the first gig in Lavery's Comedy Club, which is the club that I run.
How did he even turn up? How does Kevin Hart turn up at Lavery's Comedy Club?
Well, I didn't know either. You know, I was just told this secret, and I had to introduce him, and I hadn't seen him at all right up until that moment.
So you knew he was coming in?
Yeah. So I was like, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Hart, apparently. and then sure enough, he came round the corner, and I was like, oh, well, it wasn't a...
Were you trying to go, look, you're so teeny tiny? It's just...
Well, I did. I mean, you weren't allowed...
Did you?
You weren't allowed to film.
Yeah.
Phones were in the bag and everything. But someone got a sneaky video.
That's right.
And he walks up to the stage and I give him one of these and yank him onto this. And it looks like me and my 4-year-old son. You know, he's like, I had to yank him up onto the stage. And you could see him kind of, Jesus.
Because you're trying not to do that reaction of, you know, being an Irish person and tapping them on the top of the head.
Oh, yeah.
Just pick him up like that.
Yeah, that's it. Tiny little thing.
Did you get to talk to him at all? Like was he, like, when you're performing with him, like, you're, in your own right, a brilliant comedian. You're both brilliant comedians. When we see Kevin Hart with his Netflix specials and that sort of stuff, like, do you get any advice, or did you...
Not really, because he was filming for maybe like 14 hours a day, and he would just nip in, do the set, and leave for most of that time. Like, I did 24 gigs, so like 20 gigs.
Right.
And then the last 2 gigs were at the 3 Arena and then SSE in Belfast. And we sort of got to hang about with him a little bit then. He gave us some gifts and everything. It's very nice.
So
But I think he was just happy to be leaving the country, to be honest. He's delighted.
I'm getting out.
Yeah.
Give me some sunshine. Get me away from this rain. So, Aaron, you know, the SSE, the 3 Arena, all this kind of stuff. But you're going to Liberty Hall in Dublin.
Yes, can't wait.
Can't wait. It's going to be a good old day. You're sold out already.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But this is the sort of thing, these days when you put up a gig, it's selling out pretty quickly. It's amazing, Aaron.
Yeah, right now there's like a bit of a boom period, which we're all kind of crossing our fingers that it keeps going.
Yeah.
You know? But right now it's crazy.
So, are you, because you lived in America for a while, you're gigging over in America, what's it like over there compared to an Irish audience when you're talking about Isle Man language?
Well, yeah, people ask that all the time. They're like, you know, oh, like, does the humour translate and all, as if I'm going to be in LA talking about cold rain. You know, it's like... Which, by the way, I'll tell you this real quick. Today, I have to get this off my chest. Today, we were in the hotel, right? We were leaving. And like, I was waiting at the reception desk, and this fella from Belfast was like talking to these 2 girls who were visiting, right? And I walked in on the part of the conversation where he just went, "Oh, and another thing too, get a jam on." Like, that was his advice. That was his tourism advice for these 2 girls that were visiting from another country.
Can I say yes, 100%? Get it. I think that's great advice. Do you not think that's great advice?
Listen, it's a cultural experience, you know.
They'll have so much time.
Oh,
you know, you've got to start in the morning with a jam bomb.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that's... Bring that home.
Tell us about, like, you lived, because are you going to move back to America? Because you have a pretty good experience over there. You were living in America in a house with 40 people.
Yes.
How's that? Like, we're talking about the cost of living crisis and accommodation crisis here. Is this what we need to look at?
Yeah, I mean, I found the place on Gumtree essentially, and then like moved into it. And I lied to my mum. I said I was living with 6 people, which it was actually 39 because she didn't ever allowed that. And it was like all like aspiring creatives. So like everyone would be like, "What's your craft?" You know. And like the people in there, like the mixture was insane. I met a woman called Cinderella. I hope she's doing well. She's in Atlanta right now. And there was a fellow who was like a virtual reality games designer. His first thing that he told me was he was on his 8th life, and I just kind of let that happen. I was like, all right. You know, so yeah,
back into the pod.
Yeah, back into the
pod. And you've got issues with jam bonds. I mean, come on, have some perspective. It is called the Bomb Squad Pod. It's just so good. It's really enjoyable. Thanks for letting us into your lives and being so warm and friendly and welcoming.
It's absolutely mental, lads. It's mental. It's very funny.
You've sold out in Liberty Hall, but hoping that you're going to have some gigs at the end of the year.
Yeah,
in and
we
around
might
Ireland.
add some more podcast shows. I have Vicar Street on
Vicar
7th
Street.
of September. Did that last year. It was great. So
Yeah.
we're doing it again this year. And yeah, the podcast shows are going so well.
Great.
We might have to add some more, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, check it out. Yes, you are in Liberty Hall on the 10th of May. Colin Geddes, Aaron McCann, great to have you in, lads. Cheers for that.
Thanks for having us.
Well, of course, we know since Irish actors are having a bit of an international moment, we wanted to test our leading man's acting chops.
Yes, Deric has been hanging in the Dublin Mill Theatre ahead of their production of Agatha Christie's Witness for the Prosecution. And
Eat your heart out, Judge Judy. How are you doing, Eric? Derek? Eric?
Order. Tommy and Mirren, you're in my court now, and I must have order. Deric, you may proceed with the case for Sandyford Little Theatre.
Oh, yes, Your Honour. Oh, good morning. Welcome down here to the Mill Theatre in Dundrum, in South County Dublin. We're with all the cast and crew, Sandyford Little Theatre. Brendan, one of the men behind it. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Deric. How are you?
I'm good and great to be here this morning. Now, tell us about the group here itself.
The group is 90 years old this year. They actually were a fit-up theatre. They used to travel around the country even before that, so they could be 100+ years old.
And I mean, so many people have gone through it over the years, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been going, as I say, for 90 years, so they've had shows all around the place, but now the DLR Mill Theatre is our home.
Now, talk us through the brand new production. It's Agatha Christie's show. Tell us about it.
Witness for the Prosecution. So tickets are on sale in milltheatre.ie. We go on stage tomorrow till Saturday. We're ready to go, and it's a fantastic show. It's one of Agatha Christie's favourite shows, and fantastic script, fantastic actors, and a lovely director.
And you just have to get that in.
Yeah.
But also, it's behind the scenes as well, the production crew as well, the lighting, the staging.
Yeah, absolutely. So putting the set together, doing all the lights, doing all the sound, it's been a big job for everybody to do.
Casting people then within it, is it hard to get the good actors?
Well, it is, Deric, but you know, you have to know they are all very, very, very good people. They're fantastic people, and they've really stepped up, and they're brilliant in their roles.
I mean, this is an amateur production. This is an amateur theatre group, right?
They are, but really the only difference is I'm afraid we don't pay them. But but otherwise they are probably as good, if not better, than a lot of the other shows that you'd see in the international theatres.
All right, Gurmila Mahagut. Brendan, we're going to pop over here to Kate. Good morning to you, Kate.
Hello, Deric. You're very welcome to the Mill this morning.
Yeah, it's great to be here. And what a beautiful facility you have down here.
Yeah, I know, a 207-seater, and we have a little studio as well. We've been open since 2006. So 18 years old, we can't believe that, but yeah.
You have a lot of productions coming through here, and a lot of students, a lot of secondary school students will come down here as well.
I know, I think a lot of your viewers will know them because they're sending in their Leaving Cert and Junior Cert students in, because we do 2 Shakespeare shows a year. We welcome about 15,000 students into the venue every year, which is wonderful because it's all about getting them going early, right? And
you've been working very closely with the Sandyford Little Theatre group as well.
Yeah. So community engagement is really important here at the Mill Theatre. You know, we run a youth theatre, we run an over 65s group, and so we host 6 local drama groups here every year, and they take 2 weeks a year, and I cannot believe that Sandyford are like celebrating their 90th year this year.
It's great. Very reasonably priced as well.
Oh, of course. Yes, we are. Well, look, as I say, access is really important. Participation is really important. So being able to get in here for a cheap ticket is really good, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. Kate, now we're going to pop up over here to Niamh. Good morning to you, Niamh.
Good morning, Deric.
Niamh, tell me, how long are you acting?
Since I was a child, really. It's always been a hobby of mine. Never a career, but always a hobby. I really enjoy it.
But you probably got bitten by the bug, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, it's great to be able to come back now as an adult, and it's a totally different experience.
Now, you're in the production here itself, Agatha Christie's show. What are you playing? Who are you playing in it?
I play Cristina Vol. She's an Italian singer and the wife of the accused, Leonard Vol. Really fun character to play.
And you've been involved in many productions over the years.
I have, yeah. So just before Christmas, I did The Snapper with Glenn Cullen, Dundrum musical. And
Roddy Doyle,
yes, exactly. With a few of the other cast members here as well. It was really, really good fun.
And I believe you also did Calendar Girls.
I did, teacups out and all.
Had your bits out.
I did. That was directed by Kate Canning, actually. It was a really, really fun production as well. I loved it.
Obviously, being a working mum, trying to balance, you know, Erin, who we saw earlier on, home life, work life, theatre life. How do you find it all?
Well, I'm very lucky. I've got very supportive parents who help me out a lot. And then I get to bring Erin to rehearsals. Everyone likes to have fun with her, and she knows everyone's lines and corrects everyone. So it's great to be able to bring her and have her involved in that side of things as well.
All right, okay. Now, before we let you go, a live performance, are you up for it?
Yeah, we'll give it a go.
We'll give it a little shot. All right, so we're going to leave you here with a live performance of Agatha Christie's
Witness for the Prosecution.
Take it away, Sir Wilfrid.
Is it the truth?
Yes.
You realise you are on oath?
Yes.
I warn you, Mrs. Heilger, if you care nothing for the prisoner, be careful on your own account. The penalty for perjury is heavy.
My lord, I don't know if these theatrical outbursts are for the benefit of the jury, but I would respectfully submit there is nothing to suggest that this witness has spoken anything but the truth.
Now then, you have said that there was blood on the sleeve of his jacket?
Yes.
I think in your original story to the police you said that the blood came from a cut caused while carving ham.
I said so, but it was not true.
Why did you lie?
Leonard told me what to say.
Even going so far as to produce the actual knife with which he was cutting the ham.
When Leonard saw it had blood on it, he cut himself to make it look like the blood was his.
You seem to be a very good liar. The question is whether you were lying then or whether you are lying now. If you were really appalled at murder having been committed, you could have told the truth to the police when they first questioned you.
I was afraid of Leonard.
You were afraid of Leonard Vole. Afraid of the man whose heart and spirit you have just broken. I think the jury will know which of you to believe.
Oh, loving that. So, Wilfrid, where can we find out more online?
Tickets can be purchased via electronic means at the milltheatre.ie. We now return you to our esteemed colleagues at the recording studio, Thomas and Mirren.
Oh, I'm out of a job. Back to studio.
Well done. Oh, very dramatic.
I feel fancy by association.
Oh, very dramatic.
Thomas.
Hello, Thomas.
Yes.
After the break, author Jenny Ireland is stopping by. Mirren, what else is happening?
We'll see you after the break back here. We'll Welcome back to Ireland AM. Channeling her personal experiences into her writing has proved a winning combination for author Jenny Ireland.
Yes, and following on from the success of her debut novel, Jenny is back with her second offering, The Boy Next Door, and she joins us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you? And this genre that you do, I mean, young adult authors, I mean, this year alone, we were saying, or last year, 35 million copies were sold across the world. So it's a good time to be in your genre, isn't it?
It is, definitely. And in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, it seems to be taking off at the minute when it comes to YA and children's writing. It's brilliant.
But it is the sort of thing that translates. I suppose the first one that would pop into people's head going global was probably Twilight, you know, in the last few decades. Because it does cross genres from it being young adults into a lot of adults reading it as well, don't they?
Oh, 100%. And I think a lot of people read it because it reminds them of when they were teenagers and all these just emotions. And with YA books, you have to get right into the story right away. I mean, teenagers aren't going to wait around. To be excited, so you have to get into it, and they're usually quite short as well.
So tell us about The Boy Next Door, then.
It is, well, it's YA romance, and it follows two teen protagonists, who Finbar and Molly, who were childhood best friends until they were 9, and then Finbar's mum died and they sort of drifted apart, and at the start of the book we see them as teenagers who on the face of it couldn't be more different, and then Molly has a brain injury and her dad asked Finbar to go and visit her to try and bring back her memory and try and help her, and then they rebuild their relationship and more.
Young adult love ensues, one would think. But as you mentioned there's major brain surgery that's included in this, and this is something that you had to do in 2019. So it's something, and lived experience that you've had. What happened?
I got a virus and it triggered encephalitis, so inflammation of the brain. And it was a weekend of sort of headaches and vomiting, and went to hospital, got sent home. They said it was vertigo and migraine. And then over the weekend, it got worse. And I was back in hospital. And then I don't really remember that much of the next few weeks, but it was 2 surgeries and ICU and HDU and about 5 weeks in hospital altogether.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
My God. And to relive that personal experience then, was that hard or easy for you to put into the book?
It was quite easy. The medical stuff was quite easy to write, but the emotions I found quite difficult to. I actually found Molly a lot harder to connect with, because I felt that I didn't want to feel sorry for myself. So I was like, I don't feel sorry for you at the minute. So it took me a long time to sort of go back over the character, and then I eventually did connect with her. I just sort of separated the two. It's like, this isn't me, this is her, and I do feel sorry for her. So it worked a bit better then.
But you've had a very tough run of it when it comes to your health. Like, honestly, brain surgery, encephalitis.
Medical disaster.
But what happened? You were diagnosed with juvenile arthritis. Is that what it is? Or arthritis?
Yeah, it was psoriatic arthritis, but in the first book she has juvenile arthritis.
Well, you were diagnosed with arthritis at what age?
23.
23 years old?
Yeah.
What's the reason for it? What happened? Genetics? They don't know?
No idea. Some people say there is a genetic component, like somebody in your family just has to have psoriasis for you to be susceptible to it. So, yeah, my knee started swelling up, and I was back and forth to doctors. And my dad was a GP, and I think arthritis must have come up, at some point, because I don't remember a huge shock when I was diagnosed. It was kind of like, right, okay. Now what will we do?
Okay, what will we do?
But
it involves you. You have to get injections.
Oh, yeah. Now I inject myself every 2 weeks with sort of biologic medication and just painkillers on and off.
And this is something that you did then in your first book, then Juliet, as you're saying, was the character who went through this, something similar. So you're putting your own experiences into each of your books. I mean, that was lovely, because it was like, to go in that's a love story, basically, about your first book as well.
Yeah, and I wanted it really just to be a love story, and that she just happens to have arthritis, because I really didn't want to make it like a disability book and a big whinge about how rubbish it is to have arthritis. But I mean, it does take over her life as it does mine. But it is a love story, and I wanted her. She's just a normal teenager and just has arthritis as well.
Is it important for you then to sort of, like, she is just a normal teenager who's going through this, and she is the sort of lead in a book like this. Is it important to you to show this side of people?
Oh, definitely, because to me it's just real life. And like, everybody knows someone with a chronic illness or disability, and like everyone's just a normal person with all these things, and they want a love story. And
of course,
actually the nicest feedback I got was a girl from Germany who contacted me on Instagram, and she said she read the book in English for a start.
Oh God, of course.
And then she was like, I have a condition, it's really similar to Juliet's, and this book has given me hope that I'm going to find my own Ronan, my own love story. And it was just, that was just the best thing that's happened.
Oh God, so she just really resonated with her.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Like everyone else, no matter what's going on in health-wise, you still want to fall in love, you want to meet the right person.
100%, and that's just real life. Like, so many people have these illnesses, and it's just...
Yeah.
There should be more in books and screen.
And what is it about writing young adult that resonated with you? Because obviously there are so many different genres to go down. We were speaking to one person who's very big on book talk recently. She was gas, but she's like, well, this is what's in trend now, so this is what I'm going to write. So this is what Tessa Bailey is her name, and she was like, so this is what's in trend. So she did something about golf, and she's like, I'm going to do this. So she's kind of looking what the trends are on book talk. This is what happens, and that's what she writes.
What I should be doing.
But that's not something that you do. Like, do you pay attention to the trends that are happening on book talk and go, this is what YA readers want?
No, not at all. Like, I'm not really. Well, I'm on TikTok, but I'm not really, like, my daughter's mad about TikTok, loves it. But no, I don't really follow it. With YA, it seemed to be where my voice fitted when I was trying to find where it was, and it just seemed to fit there. And I really, either unfortunately or fortunately for writing, I remember vividly what I felt like as a teenager, just like permanently mortified about everything I did, and these feelings are still there. So it felt quite easy just to
slide in,
go back there.
Because you actually, this wasn't your first thing. You're in the legal profession, and then you. So how did it move from that to the writing? When did you suddenly decide, you know what, I need to do what my passion is?
Well, I didn't know that was my passion until I had kids. I was literally it was after Rory was born, and I was demented from the lack of sleep, and so I need some headspace, so I'd get up at 5 a.m. or whatever time before they got up, and I just started writing these wee weird stories, and I got absolutely hooked. I loved it. It was just this other world you could just escape into and not think about babies for 2 hours in the morning.
I'm not going to think about babies. I'm going to challenge myself to write books. Yeah. So much easier.
But then how did that develop then? Because you're doing that for yourself, and then when did you decide, okay, let me show this to someone else then, and let's see if I can get a book published?
Yeah, I joined a writing group, a local writing group, which have been brilliant. I still meet up with them now, but the real turning point was 2017 when I did a writing course with the Curtis Brown agency, and the tutor on that told me, look, you can write, and at this point I had no idea if it was just drivel or what it was.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, you're not wasting your time. I think you're going to be published one day. So that was like...
Wow.
That's so nice to hear that.
Amazing.
It's so nice. Well, Finbar and Molly are speaking through you in this book. It's called The Boy Next Door. I would have been bet into this at 15. What if the person you need most has been there all along? I'll probably read it later on today, actually. Is this about you? The Boy Next Door, the second book from Jenny Ireland in her young adult series. Thank you so much for joining us, Jenny. It's been a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you so much. Genuinely, we'll probably read that a little bit later on.
Jenny, nice to see you. How are you?
Thank you so much. That is all from us today. Coming up on tomorrow's show, former footballer Richie Sadler is going to be stopping by.
We're getting some...
I'm chatting to him about the Vera Pauw. He did
Vera
Pauw in his recent podcast.
He did. Very good.
Yeah, very interesting.
Getting some top tips for a good night's sleep from a hypnotherapist.
That's what we need on the show every week. And Deric has gone from acting today to picking up a paddle to play picketball. Oh, he was playing paddle recently, but now it's picketball. All that plus your latest news, sport and weather. We will be back tomorrow from 7 o'clock.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Certainly will. We're not finished yet.
Oh, are we not finished?
No, we've got a few extra.
Oh, all right, okay.
Extra minutes. As we were mentioning earlier on, we are going to be doing a series on Thursday where we're going to be at University Hospital Limerick. If you want to get in touch, we're going to be live from Limerick. You can join us 0896 111 111 with any of your stories. We would love to hear from you today, and the WhatsApp line is open all day.
Cheers.
Can we say goodbye now?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.